Experts reportedly described Evergrande's difficulties as a critical challenge for Beijing, with the potential to become China's Lehman Brothers moment, sending shockwaves throughout the globe's second largest economy. Here's what you need to know about Evergrande, what it does, and why it would matter if the Chinese company collapses. What impact would that have on China's financial system, and how will it impact other economies outside of China? And is the collapse inevitable? What is Evergrande, what do they do, and why do they matter? Evergrande is the second largest real estate company in China. The business is a member of the Global 500, which means it is among the globe's biggest companies in terms of revenue. It is located inside the city of Shenzhen, in southern China, and is incorporated in Hong Kong. It currently employs 200,000 individuals. Also, it indirectly supports around 3.8 million employment every year. The company was previously known as the Hengda Group, founded by Hui Ka-yan, around 1996 in southern China, Guangzhou. Evergrande now owns over 1,300 development projects in over 280 locations around China. The company's other ventures include wealth administration, electric vehicle production, food and beverage production. It also owns Guangzhou FC, one of the country's most successful football teams. According to Forbes, the founder, Mr. Hui Ka-yan, holds a net worth of roughly $10.6 billion. Forbes ranked him as the third richest man in China in 2020, but his fortune has plunged in subsequent months. What is causing Evergrande's trouble? Evergrande's debts have risen in past years because it borrows money to fund its different projects. The company is well known for being China's most indebted developer, with over $300 billion in debts, equivalent to around 2% of China's GDP. In recent weeks, their debt has cautioned investors about cash flow concerns, stating that it may collapse if it fails to raise funds. Also, Xi Jinping enacted new laws to regulate real estate developers with the debt they could borrow. According to some experts, this new law to regulate the amount of money they can borrow is to slow down the housing market boom. There are new condo developments all over China that sit empty because people buy them as an investment. Also, the booming of real estate increases the land value, making it more expensive for the average Chinese person to purchase land, build a home and start a family. We'll talk more about that later. As reports stating China's population is declining, most pointed out that many Chinese men cannot afford to own land to start a family. It is culturally acceptable in China that a man needs to buy or own a home before starting a family. This is another reason why Xi Jinping wants to stop a big real estate company like Evergrande from borrowing money, and cool down the real estate market in China. Xi Jinping is acting with unprecedented determination to temper the property market. All this is a component of his common prosperity campaign on apparent wealth inequality. Evergrande has no choice but to give its properties discounted prices due to the additional rules to ensure that money would come in to keep the company alive. The company has been in turmoil for a long time, but now it appears that things are finally coming to the forefront. It is currently having trouble paying interest on its loans. Because of this volatility, Evergrande's stock value has fallen by about 85% this year. International credit rating firms also have devalued their bonds. As per analysts, the firm's aggressive growth is what got it into trouble. According to Maddie Bekink, China Economist Intelligence Unit Director stated,
"The company deviated away from its original core business. That would be a factor of how it got in this issue."
Evergrande's difficulties are critical for several reasons. The failure of Evergrande might create a domino effect on China's real estate market. To begin with, many people purchased their home or condo units from Evergrande before construction began. They already made deposits and might even lose their funds if the company fails. There are around 1.5 million customers who've placed deposits upon Evergrande's different properties that haven't even been built. Organizations that conduct business alongside Evergrande also are in trouble. Design and construction firms and material providers are all in danger of suffering significant losses, which might lead them to declare bankruptcy. Based on court documents, 228 real estate companies in China declared bankruptcy during the first half of 2020. The final point to consider is the possible effect on the financial system of China. Banks, as well as other lenders, might be pushed to loan less should Evergrande fails. If property developers fail, investors and banks who lent funds to them suffer from money loss, and a financial meltdown follows. We've already seen the movie previously, and that is why Evergrande has been labeled China's Lehman Brothers. A financial meltdown would be disastrous for the world's second biggest economy because businesses that are unable to borrow will struggle to expand, and in some instances, cannot stay in business. If Evergrande collapses, according to analysts, might be the most important test of China's financial system in recent years. A collapse will not simply be disastrous for investor confidence, but it will also negatively impact governing China's Communist Party, the CCP. The CCP recently launched a new push for common prosperity under President Xi Jinping, which aims to curb extreme wealth, decrease market risks, and minimize income disparity. However, Evergrande is among China's most influential and one of the biggest businesses, which is an issue that gotten worsened under Xi's control. The pressing issue is, will he permit Evergrande to collapse? Possibly causing financial instability, and more riots. Is Evergrande a company that is too big to fail? Several analysts believe Beijing may intervene to save Evergrande because of the potentially catastrophic consequences if the company fails. Some, on the other hand, are unsure. The influential editor-in-chief of a state-backed Global Times newspaper wrote on China's chat app, stating that Evergrande must not depend on a state bailout but must preserve itself. This is undoubtedly in line, given Beijing's goal of reducing corporate debt, which is why a huge bailout may be viewed as a negative example. Is Evergrande's collapse and bankruptcy inevitable? This issue is unlikely to be as severe as America's subprime crisis of 2008. Buyers within China's real estate industry pay the deposit, and many pay the full fees upfront instead of depending on mortgages. However, after this, buyers could be wary of entrusting such vast amounts to real estate companies, but Evergrande's failure should not have the same snowball effect as in the United States. When it comes to China's housing sector, there are some advantages as well. Wealthy Chinese investors who used to desire to invest abroad but currently regard China as a much safer option than countries around the world still infected with the COVID-19 virus. Now the wealthy Chinese investors are more likely to invest at home in real estate. Also, the demand for new houses for the average Chinese is so overwhelming that interested purchasers must join lotteries to win a chance to buy any. Homeownership is also highly valued in Chinese culture, with 81% of Chinese feeling that purchasing a home is a requirement before marrying and starting a family. Residential property accounts for almost 78% of urban Chinese wealth, compared to barely 35% in the US. The Americans prefer to invest in pensions and use other financial instruments. Should Chinese housing prices fall sharply due to the Evergrande collapse, this would reduce the principal assets of the globe's biggest middle class, causing concern worldwide. The company's downfall is anticipated. Nevertheless, if properly handled, the procedure might provide Xi's reform of the Chinese economy's common prosperity a boost. It is just a question of how long until Evergrande collapses. This is a developing situation in China. Your guess of what comes next is just as good as anyone. But now, you know what the company is about and the problem they are having. What do you think will happen to Evergrande? Will Beijing come to the rescue or leave the company to fail? Leave your comment below. To watch other videos, click on one of the videos on your screen now.